So after a lot of requests, Apple Time is back. This is Apple Time. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Apple Time. I'm your host, Jacob from The Latest Tech, and in this video I'm going to take a lot of the top stories from the past week about Apple and present them to you guys in a news-like fashion. I mean, green screen, pretty cool. Wait, no. I'm in a theater. I'm in like a presentation room. What am I talking? That's not a green screen. Anyway, let's get started. After the recent release of the new iPad 3rd generation, it seems like Apple has actually left an iPad 2 advertisement above an Apple store in New York. A billboard above the West 14th Street retail store in New York reveals a sign that still advertises the iPad 2 opposed to advertising the iPad 3. So it's really a really weird call from Apple, or it's a marketing flub up. Now this past week also, Apple has released iPhoto for the Mac version 9.2.3. It improves overall stability, and it addresses an issue that could cause iPhoto to quit unexpectedly on systems with multiple user accounts. Now that being said, Apple is expected maybe to come out with a iLife 13 sometime in the coming months or up to a year. I mean, the last time we saw an upgrade was iLife 11, and the years before that was like iLife 08 or 09. So every 2 years seems to be the magic number for Apple releases regarding iLife. Moving on to movie news, and if you guys remember the biography release of Steve Jobs by Walter Isaacson this past November, we saw the report of Sony actually gaining the rights to that biography, and it seems like they might be putting it into a movie form. 2.5 Men and former That 70s Show Ashton Kutcher is starring as Steve Jobs in this movie and documentary. And moving on to another report, it is said that 1/3 of all American high school students own an iPhone, whether it is the 3GS, the 4, the 4S, the 3G, the first generation. One of those devices is in the hands of an American high school student. I mean, just from my school alone, I could probably say that over 50% of the students own an iPhone 4 or 4S, somewhere in there. So with that being said, the iPhone 5 release that's either expected in June or in October, it's going to be weird to see if any of these students actually decide to upgrade to the next generation iPhone or stay with their old generation of the iPhone. Now, we've seen this rumor a couple times in the past years, and it is actually a rumor that has resurfaced with the iPad 3 release, and that is that Apple is actually working on a 7.85-inch smaller version of the iPad. Now, like I just said, Apple is reportedly has a 7.5-inch iPad in their labs, and a spokesperson from Apple said, well, I don't know. What I do know is that there is one in the lab, a 7.85-inch iPad that runs at 1024 by 768. It's just like the 9.7 iPad shrunk down a little bit. Apps wouldn't need to be recompiled or redesigned to work optimally on it. It's just the iPad in a smaller version. Now that being said, I couldn't really see them releasing this sometime this year, but maybe next year to compete with maybe the second generation Kindle Fire. Moving on to Apple's money news, in the stock market, Apple started the week at 600 and ended up at 625, so another outstanding week for Apple, and it'll say that it could reach as high as 800 by the end of the quarter. Staying on the topic of money again and looking into the future, Apple announced their Q2 conference call about Q2 earnings is actually scheduled for April 24th. So actually what we saw at the Q1 conference call is that Apple will be selling out some dividends to their stock market owners. And finally, moving on to the big story of the day, Apple is rumored to be putting a surround sound speaker system into the next generation of MacBook Pro. Patently, Apple reported that Apple is working on a surround system that will actually sit under the keyboard in the next generation MacBook Pro and will provide a listening experience that is definitely going to be revolutionary into the laptop game. There isn't really a report of when the MacBook Pro is going to be expected to be released, but what we can say from the past years is that we might expecting it sometime in April or May. So that's just about all that happened in Apple this week. I want to thank you guys for watching. Remember to stay tuned for Apple Time next week. Hopefully, if this goes well, I'll hopefully be bringing it back. I mean, this is a lot of work for me to set up all these lights and get the time in this conference theater area. So I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you next time.